Previously on LobotomizeGang.
I'm here in the beautiful, absolutely beautiful city of Karnataka. The next review for the channel is going to be on Dishonored 2! And it's a big one, I'm telling you. Where am I? Who are you? I am a god. I'm here to judge you for the heinous crimes that you committed in Karnataka. First is a game, and second, I finished it on low chaos, okay? Oh yeah? Then you wouldn't mind walking me through everything you've done, right? Your Honor, but I'm warning you though, you're not gonna find anything evil in there, alright? Well, what are you doing? Transition. Now shut up. What is up, LobotomizeGang is the guy. You know, the guy who Dishonored 2 is a face shooting, rat eating, pussy grabbing, too hard listening, collectible searching. Surviving in a place with rampant gang violence, the plague, murderous restaurants, and police officers that try to murder you on sight without provocation. Basically New York Simulator. Developed by the ill-fated Arkane studio, who has been passed around more times than your average LA OnlyFans model. From working with EA to Valve, Ubisoft, and later on with Bethesda, to getting unceremoniously dumped into a landfill after producing the disgusting piece of toilet paper that was Redfall. Released on November 10th, 2016, Dishonored 2 is the studio's 5th game and the first one to be developed separately by Arkane Lyon, who has not worked on any title independently prior to this game. It is the sequel to the exceptional Dishonored, a surprise hit that came out of nowhere and proved to casual gamers that stealth can indeed be fun, with stealth being indiscriminate butchery and speedrun pressing the quick load anytime an enemy catch a glimpse of your eyelash. Despite receiving an overabundance of positive reviews, such as "A masterpiece, loved everything about this game, is definitely a must-play. It really makes you feel like you've been dishonored, killing the scum in the dark. Emily is such an waifu, great game as well. Got your game really sick, sweet, 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 and 8 out of 10. As well as a host of negative ones. The one point that sticks out like a sore thumb that I'm sure everybody with a PC would agree that the game was near unplayable on PC upon release, with frame rate as low as XQC's IQ and stuttering on about the same level.
Well, I mean, I heard that, but I seen some of these documentaries. I ain't believe none of that. Hey, the game government and don't get no one in the sample, no, give my 3D.
I have no idea what the fuck you're saying right now.
I suspect that the train wreck of a PC port and poor performance were the result of the notorious Denuvo DRM system, which was implemented as a strategic move to prevent piracy during the initial release period of the game, but counterproductively increased the demand for piracy due to sad performance and ownership issues it caused. 2 years after release, in 2018, Dishonored 2 received an update that got rid of Denuvo, coincidentally improving the game's performance and finally unleashing its full potential into a world that has largely forgotten about its existence by that point. This also allowed the game to actually be enjoyed by people who didn't raid Area 51 for a computer. But there is one thing that you should know about me, is that the effect of prolonged untreated insanity have gained me the ability to endure infinite amounts of suffering, thus allowing me to beat this game more time than my mate. So loop up, strap on, and put on your gimp mask, because today we're diving deep into this masterpiece that's more forgotten than your dating profile. And also spoiler alert for the entirety of the game. Also, let me get this straight, okay? There are people out there who say that the first Dishonored is better than the sequel, but I feel like these people played the second game for like 5 minutes, then quit because of the performance problems. Look, it's like comparing vanilla softcore porn to hardcore interracial gangbang. Sure, vanilla porn has better plot, but we can all agree that there's a lot more action and variety in the latter. You play as either Emily Coldwin or Corvo Atano, extreme co-rulers of Dunwall by day, Elizabeth Bathory and Vlad Tepes by night. Inspired by late 19th century London and Edinburgh, Dunwall is as treacherous as it is iconic to the franchise. Here, gangs vie for control of the streets, poverty is the norm, and a person can barely walk 10 steps without running into some random criminals graciously looking to view the content inside their pantaloons. Without going into too much spoilers, certain impalement at the beginning of the first game plunged Dunwall into chaos and led to it becoming a totalitarian regime ruled by fear. Adding to that, the impoverished streets were also plagued with a plague, which turned citizens into blood-sucking psychopaths looking to mercilessly ravage anyone in sight and consume their essence. But unlike online influencers, these infected still retain their morality. Not only that, due to the excessive number of casualties, packs of ravenous rats had emerged, feasting on a myriad of corpses unceremoniously dumped into the sewers. Within this hellhole of a city, Corvo Attano finds himself an unwilling ally of a covert group of loyalists, hell-bent on overthrowing the tyrannical government and crowning Emily Coltwin, the daughter of the Empress, who got impaled by both Corvo and Dowd. All of this culminates in the ending of the first game where Corvo faces off against a plot twist that everybody saw coming a mile away. Especially when your allies look like Asmongold and Niskiff if they were PDFs and not degenerate. But whatever choice you make during the first game, Dishonored 2 canonically takes place after the good ending where Corvo still left some people alive in the city for Emily to rule. Okay, now that we have thoroughly established the ins and outs of Dunwall, Dishonored 2 takes place in the city right next to it. Karnaka! Yeah, you just threw away 10 minutes of your life that you're never gonna get back. Honestly, what do you expect, huh? That I'm not mentally disturbed? After a short section in Dunwall, you spend the rest of the game in Karnaka, traveling from one exotic location to another, assassinating prominent political figures in order to weaken the government, with the main storyline serving as justification for your creative murderous tendencies. Fun fact, the first Dishonored was originally set to take place in medieval Japan of all places, a setting which Ubisoft is intent on shamelessly exploiting in Assassin's Creed Shadows. One of the reasons why Arkane Studio changed the setting to a vaguely Victorian England was that because the team felt they did not have enough knowledge on the culture to place the game there. Huh! What is this? People with respect? Anyway, shout out to my viewers in Japan. Konnichiwa, cuz. Is that racist? With some exceptions, most of the time you spend in Karnaka will be in the morning, so you can expect beautiful sunny vistas as well as an increase in the number of unsuspecting NPCs for you to test your new set of powers on. Since there aren't any swarms of rats roaming the street, citizens have no reason to hide inside anymore. Hilariously, this time, swarms of blood-sucking insects have made their nests inside people's homes, making it impossible to stay indoors. This is what introverts see when they imagine hell. Dishonored 2 takes place 15 years after the events of the first game. Emily and Corvo are now rulers of Dunwall, and have been doing a pretty good job at it. The rat plague is eradicated, the gangs are largely gone, and the streets are more peaceful than ever, with no political opponent to speak of, probably because Corvo kidnapped and murdered them all. As you would expect for a video game, the peace doesn't last. During a ceremony, enters the witch Delilah Copperspoon, the one political opponent that Corvo didn't murder. She, along with Duke Luca Abele, staged a coup d'etat and overthrow Emily in what had to have been the speedrun regime change world record. I'm serious, barely 15 minutes into the game and 15 years of your rule suddenly vanishes into thin air. Everybody dies in mere seconds, and your elite personal guards are as useful as condoms at an abortion clinic. You would think, with Jeffrey Dahmer being in charge of security and all, he would have trained up an army of equally skilled psychopaths who could at least defend themselves. During Dishonored 2's opening moments, you are given a choice between either Emily or Corvo, with the character you don't pick turned into stone, which I find to be a huge waste of potential. Which character you pick doesn't drastically affect the plot of the game. The one thing it affects, however, are character interactions, in which your protagonist actually chimes in once in a while now, instead of just standing there silently glaring at NPCs like a freaking psychopath. Gone are the days of controlling a floating murderous pair of arms. You have a fully voiced protagonist now, granted one with the personality of a lamppost, but you know, a voiced protagonist nonetheless. Since this game was made before the age of live service, the gameplay of Dishonored 2 is not utter garbage. And while it is simple as a child with Down syndrome, the gameplay mechanics are so well implemented that you'll be amazed with what you can do with everything they have on offer, aside from your vast arsenal of a single melee weapon and 2 ranged ones. You are also equipped with a wide variety. You are also equipped You are also equipped with a wide variety of useful traps and magical powers. If you ever want to feel like a stealthy shadow, sneaking past enemies in the dark without leaving a single trace, then I suggest you take a seat in the corner at the end of the room so your cup of pussy juice doesn't stain the carpet. Because I'm not here to fuck around. We're here for that high-octane, pants-down, dicks-out action, and we ain't slowing down. Similar to the first game, the chaos system makes a return. On the one side of the spectrum, you have low chaos, which rewards patience. This can be achieved by refraining from wanton murder, utilizing the environment to your advantage, stealthily sneak past enemies, opting to take them down non-lethally instead of killing them outright, aka being a bitch. On the other side, we have high chaos, the right way to play the game. Tired of shoving an entire sword through a man's jugular? Roleplay as Psycho Cinderella and summon demon rats to slowly consume your enemies piece by piece. Make sure to stand there and watch as they writhe in exquisite agony. Bonus if their friends come to the rescue only to be met with the same fate. You prefer something more robust? Mutilate enemies and tear their flesh apart as you throw them against the wall. Disgusting bloodstain? I call that modern art. Psychopath? I prefer the term morally challenged. Oh, you like a hands-on approach? Apply the Trump special.
Grandmother pussy.
Alternatively, you can do what a woman does best. Turn into a demon, slither across the ground, isolate a man from his friends, suck the life out of him, then proceed to dismember him and play with his body parts. Truly, the essential female experience. Shred enemies apart with razor wires, blow them up with bombs, stomp their heads against the pavement, push them off a cliff, massacre them, kill their children, masticate their sons, mutilate their daughters, eat their babies, play with their intestines, kill, maim, kill. Sleep deprivation? But before we get to the fun part, we have to pick a character. Remember earlier when I said the developers intentionally limit your power set in order to justify making you play the game twice? If I didn't, that's what they did. Aside from serving no purpose other than making you feel annoyed, this also means that we have to pick between these two. Now with the first Dishonored being another one of my favorite games, one that I have finished even more times than this one, the nostalgia for Daddy Corvo is strong. I like getting attached to my video game characters, and with him being an already established one that I have spent a bunch of time with, combined with his downright iconic mechanical mask and folding blade, it's obvious Emily makes an escape from Dunwall after non-lethally eliminating this guy by locking him in a room with no way to escape, condemning him to a fate of slowly starving to death while possibly going insane from the isolation. So you're saying crushing a man's windpipe, throwing his unconscious body down the stairs, breaking his femur, and then locking him in a safe with limited food and no access to medical care is non-lethal? Well, I did use air quotes. Oh, you used air quotes! Oh, never mind then, please continue, yes. With the help of
Megan Foster,
captain of
the Dreadful Whale,
they set sail for the city of Karnaca and attempt to weaken Delilah's grip on Dunwall by systematically eliminating her allies. There are 5 key targets, whose process of elimination I'll walk you through in this video. The Crown Killer, Kirin Jindosh, Aramis Stilton, Breanna Ashworth, and finally, Duke Luca Abele. Our first target will be the Crown Killer, an assassin working for Delilah to get rid of her enemies. Sorta like Corvo but with a yee ass haircut. Unfortunately for us, she's a woman, and is thus insane. So she's currently in a mental asylum that's on an island only accessible by tram. Our objective for this mission is to get to the tram in one piece, preferably without being detected, as that would alert the guards on the island. This is easier said than done since we are wanted, and Emily doesn't even attempt to put on a disguise. The best she could come up with is a mask that makes her look even more suspicious. The first thing you do as soon as every mission starts is to pull out the heart. Dishonored 2's massive and well-realized levels allowed for an increased number of runes and bone charms. While it wasn't a problem for me, the game can sometimes devolve into charm hunting simulator, where you just ignore the objective and run around searching for runes and bone charms scattered everywhere on the map. This encourages exploration, but it gets really boring really quick, especially towards the end of the game where you have everything you need and become basically Batman with magic. It's optional, so unlike the slaves, you aren't forced to collect anything. A complaint often heard from low chaos players about the first game is that there aren't as many ways to non-lethally take enemies down, aside from sleeping darts and a chokehold. To remedy this, Arkane has blessed us with Choke 2, which can be initiated by parrying, sliding into enemies, throwing stuff at them, or, my favorite, kneecapping. It's actually so easy to do that I think enemies deliberately let Abele choke them. I mean, who can blame them? Have you seen the woman? Now that we're at the asylum, I silently snuck past the guards using my shadow grab power. Unlike Corvo, Abele doesn't have the iconic blink, but a grab that can catapult her forward, leading to situations like these. Even though it's infinitely more fun and versatile, the grab can be wonky at times, being a hindrance in more situations than one, especially when you aren't used to it. Most of the time, it doesn't even go where you want it to. So you better get some practice in, or you're gonna find yourself reenacting the final moments of a depressed teenager. Wait. What is this part about you pulling enemies into the air and then trying to shoot them with a crossbow before they land? Well, you see, I had just upgraded my power to grab people, so I had to test it out somehow, you know? So you don't think it's immoral to use human beings as target practice? Look, I did that with like 2 enemies, okay? And they died from the fall, not the crossbow. The rest, I just shot their knees and then curb stomped their head against the pavement, okay? Totally non-lethal. Now, can I get on with my story? At this point, the crown killer's identity is still unclear to us, so we first have to find Dr. Hypatia, who is currently being held hostage in the asylum by Duke Luca Abele. After some sneaking around, I managed to find the doctor, who seemed to be suffering from some illness that makes her black out, then forget everything when she wakes up. I call that alcoholism. Now, if you're guessing that Dr. Hypatia is the crown killer, then you'd be right. Well, to their defense, the game did attempt to create a mystery surrounding who the killer was via clues scattered around the asylum, which cast suspicion on everybody aside from the doctor herself. But even a blind man with the mental capacity of Joe Biden could have seen that twist coming a mile away. Now we have a choice to make. Either plunge a sword through her heart to end her suffering brought about by the illness and the guilt for murdering countless innocents, or inject a cure to turn the killer from a monster into something arguably worse. A woman. But since the game told me Hypatia is the greatest doctor in all of Karnaca, I figured it would be best for the Empire if I cured her. Which is why it's so great that I happened to find a random guy who had conveniently come up with the cure, made it off screen, and left it there on the table, just waiting for me to inject it into the killer. So I did that. You caused a lot of chaos on this mission, but I got low chaos on other missions, right? And as we all know, doing one good thing undoes a bad thing. That's not how that works. What are you talking about? Sure it is. I kill one person, impregnate another, it all balances out, right? Our next target is Kirin Jindosh, who deserves to die because he installed a crack pipe into his prosthetic hand. Well, he's also a genius inventor who provided Delilah with murderous robots that, in addition to killing a person, mentally tortures them with incessant yapping. I'm serious. Throughout the entirety of his mission, as you are navigating his constantly transforming mansion, you're gonna be bombarded with a mind-boggling number of dialogues from Jindosh, relentlessly taunting you, as if to drive you insane. He monitors and narrates your every single action. You're not even safe hiding inside the walls. Imagine what it's like for the guards working there. There's more yapping here than your average Hassan Piker stream. Who the hell designed this mission? Fucking Cenobites? Despite being the mission I hate most in this otherwise masterpiece of a game, the one thing I believe that many would agree with me that the Clockwork Mansion is nothing short of a crowning achievement in video game level design. An achievement never again seen since then. It's like all the good devs hooked their brain into a machine that siphoned their life forces to create this single level. They all then perished leaving us with the people who made Redfall. The level itself is nothing too special, but scattered throughout the mansion is a myriad of levers, which, when pulled, will transform the mansion, shifting the walls and furniture, changing the environment you're navigating through. The level of complexity here is simply mind-blowing. It is so insane that there's a guy who died because he didn't know how to get out from inside the walls, where you can go if you manage to slip through the cracks as the place is transforming, going inside the bowels of the building. This turns the mission into a cakewalk, as you can avoid most enemies if you know what you're doing. And since I know this place like the back of your mom, I rescued my ally Anton Sokolov in less than 5 minutes. He was being held captive in a maze whose walls can shift if you stand on these pressure plates. The hard part here is carrying a 200-pound unconscious man out of the place without turning his internal organs to soup. But since enemies can chase you through loading screens, I just sprint out of the mansion with Sokolov on my shoulder. Once that's done, I return to finish what I started. As you explore the mansion, you also find out that Jindosh was trying to electrocute parts of Sokolov's brain responsible for creativity and reasoning, essentially lobotomizing the scientist. And since LobotomizeGang is always looking for new members, this is exactly what I did to Jindosh. And you can do the same by subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications. Thank you. So I go back to the mansion, silently sneak past the guards, then snatch a bitch and fry his brain in the torture chair, finishing the mission with low chaos. Okay, this is getting ridiculous. Turning a man into a vegetable is better than killing him? Duh. It's the non-lethal option, and I'm nothing if not merciful. I am this close. Okay, look at it like this. The world gets one less psychopath, and LobotomizeGang gets one new subscriber. Win-win. The next target is Breanna Ashworth, Delilah's loyal lieutenant, and the one responsible for summoning her back from whichever fate she suffered in the first game. Ashworth is shacked up in a royal conservatory with her sisterhood of witches. And I gotta be honest, this mission sucks harder than the Hawk Tour girl. Not only does it play out like any other missions, the non-lethal option also makes no sense. Bear in mind that the map, similar to every other map in the game, is very well designed, with intricately crafted obstacles and solutions to overcoming those obstacles just waiting for you to discover. Levels are even designed to be playable without magic, which you can choose to not receive at the beginning of the game. You can tell that they put most of the development time into making these huge and expansive environments, to the point that these environments tell better stories than the plot itself. The only thing that could have happened was that they locked the level design team in a dark room and forced them to make maps, only feeding them other developers from the story team. Similar to the other missions, I slipped past the guards with my magic power, then looked for the non-lethal way to take out Ashworth. This is where the slow time power comes in handy. Even when you haven't upgraded it to stop time completely, slowing time also slows down enemies' detection speed, allowing you to just stroll right past them without getting detected on lower difficulties. According to this paper, Ashworth is working on something called the Oraculum, a device which focuses power from the void into whoever uses it. You can replace the lenses in the device to make it drain power from Ashworth instead. The hilarious thing is, as soon as you replace the lenses and activate the Oraculum, Ashworth just automatically appears right in front of the thing, standing in the exact spot needed for it to work. Kidnapping, though fun, is not required. As you can tell, this makes no sense, since the witch is not magically tied to the machine in any way. It's just a device that she's working on. I turn on the machine, she loses her power, everybody, and I mean absolutely everybody, disappears from the conservatory. It's like they weren't paid enough to deal with Psycho Cinderella, running around summoning rats to eat people. So I just ran around looking for runes and bone charms unbothered. Low chaos, baby! Okay, this next part is a bit convoluted, so pay attention, okay? We need to find Aramis Stilton, a person who we suspect can help us with our Delilah problem, as he played a hand in her resurrection. Stilton is nowhere to be found at the moment, so our best bet would be to look for him at his house. But in order to get there, we have to get through a locked door in the Dust District, which the Howler Gang and the Overseers are fighting to gain control of. This is where we're heading next. Here, you are presented with a difficult choice. Either you kidnap the leader of the Howler gang and bring him to the Overseers so that they can help you open the locked door, or do the opposite and have the Howlers help you instead. But if you explore around a bit, you'll find out that one Howler gang member, Durante, knows how to open the locked door, but he's currently being detained by the Overseers. This begins the tedious chain of back and forth traversal between the Howlers and Overseers territory that is just downright awful. Since you're gonna be sneaking around a lot, you will hear tons of dialogue from the two factions. This highlights the biggest problem here, which is the fact that I don't know shit about voice acting, so I can't give any meaningful criticism on it. And sometimes, when you don't know much about something, it's okay to just shut up. But from what I can tell, the voice acting is great. Moreover, unlike Dragon Age Veilguard, the dialogue here doesn't feel like it was written by a 12-year-old talking to an 8-year-old. As you sneak around the district, you can alleviate the boredom by experimenting with your magic powers. I find Mesmerize to be very useful. It brainwashes enemies, turns them brain dead, and makes them ignore everything. It can be upgraded to affect 4 enemies at a time, effectively turning it into the dark magic equivalent of TikTok. So, after getting the key to Durante's door, I found a password to the locked door, which seemed to be made by a guy high on crack. Oh wait, it was. But before leaving through the door, I had other plans. See, as I explored the district, I learned that somebody's been sneaking prisoners out of the slave mines by swapping them with people from the outside. And as it happens, I know just who to volunteer for the next swap. So, with the aid of my godlike magic that trivializes most of the game, I kidnapped the leader of the Howler and the Vice Overseer, then put them in these coffins to be sent to the slave mines. Wait, I'm confused here. I get that Paulo is a dangerous gang leader, so he had to go. I get that. But why the Vice Overseer? Sure, the Overseers are zealots, but they just keep the peace. They don't do anything. Well, there were 2 coffins. What am I supposed to do? Just leave one empty? I arrive at Aramis Stilton's home. Now lies in ruin after the man seemingly went mad overnight. It was there that I learned about Duke Luca Abele's plan to imprison Stilton and take care of him out of duty. It's worth noting that your magic doesn't work in this mission, which leads to Emily getting stuck after looking at Stilton's makeshift prison, then still deciding to jump down there like a dumbass. This is where the outsider, whose entire premise is observing and not intervening with mortals' business, decides to appear and out of nowhere give me a device that can turn back time to the night Delilah's resurrection ritual took place. And this time reversing mechanic is no joke. It can be done at will, at any time and any place. It actually feels like the 2 timelines exist simultaneously. You can even look through the device to see events in the past as they are happening, which can help you determine when and where to reverse time. Adding to that, the actions you take in the past has an effect on the present as well. For example, you can burn this dog here so that there isn't a bloodfly infestation in the present. Or take out these 2 workers in the past, so this window isn't fixed, which allows you to crawl through it, opening up a whole new section of the level. I know I've said this before, but it is simply insane just how cool and technically impressive Dishonored 2 is. And this mission is no exception. It just feels like, magic. Simply magic. The only downside is that it makes me more confused than a teenager in the LGBT community. I mean, navigating through the environment is easy enough, but it's gonna take some figuring out if you're looking to collect everything, which also applies for this mission in Dishonored 2. Since you're gonna be looking for collectibles the whole time, you'll have a lot of time to get acquainted with the heart. The best word I can use to describe this thing is haunting. As if your mom whispering into your ears wasn't uncomfortable enough, the dialogue written for the heart evoke a sense of melancholic dread that's deeply unnerving.
There are no stars in the sky here. There isn't a sky. I will never walk in the sun again. You could have spared so many lives, but you didn't. Honorable intentions, well-made plans. Love, all drowning in blood you spilled.
Admittedly, it gets ridiculous after a while. Like, every person you point this thing at has eaten a baby, or is on their way to eat one.
These young boys with filthy hair and soft skin, to him they are emissaries from the void, and must be hung. Burning with jealousy, he put the hounds on 2 young musicians who were drinking wine. During the trials of aptitude he was flagging, so he choked another petitioner to death and took his rations.
But aside from that, it serves to build up Karnaca as a glamorously beautiful place on the outside, but irredeemably corrupt on the inside. Back in the mansion, it's worth noting that you can choose to either murder Stilton or choke him out in the past. But I sort of forgot about the man and just left him there untouched. Wish my uncle did the same. With Stilton out of the way, the only obstacle between us and Delilah is Duke Luca Abele, who is staying at his mansion accessible only by tram. Again, this mission highlights the immersive sim nature of this game. Even though you can use the tram track to get to the mansion, there are a plethora of different methods to achieve the same goal, provided you look for them. The same goes for every other mission in Dishonored too, with Jindosh's place being the only exception. The only option in that mission is pain. Because I have low chaos, the streets are very peaceful, which allows me to walk around like I own the place. Which I do, because I'm the Empress. Nevertheless, as I approach the mansion, I have 2 tasks. The first is to dispose of the Duke in any way I see fit. In this case, I'm looking to convince his body double to become the actual Duke, telling everyone that the real Duke has succumbed to madness and sending him to the asylum where Dr. Hypatia, who I saved, is waiting. This is the easy part since I've done it more times than you have in your entire life. Spoiler alert, the real Duke is the one inside the garden, which is heavily guarded. So just abuse one of your overpowered magic spells, then pick his pocket for the key to his safe and the crest that proves he's the real Duke. This brings us to the second task, which is going into the safe and snatching Delilah's soul contained in the statue. See, as we were witnessing Delilah's summoning ritual at Stilton's place, we also learned that the real reason she can't be killed was because she put her soul into the statue we have in front of us here. At this point, the game throws a curveball at you. Delilah's soul needs a container if it's to be taken out of the statue, and the only container you have available on you is the heart. This means releasing your mom's soul from the heart and putting Delilah's soul in its place. So, for the rest of the game, you're gonna hear the antagonist whispering into your ears whenever you use the heart. I find this to be genius. Not only does it shake up the narrative, it also serves to build up Delilah as a character, and one deserving of your sympathy at that. You don't get to see much of her, but the game has a great way of showing you her tragic past and making you empathize with the witch, by making her appear and tell you about it in person. I didn't say it was subtle. Though as developed as a third world country, Delilah has an actual valid reason for being the power-hungry girl boss entrepreneur she is. See, Delilah actually is entitled to the crown because she's your mom's stepsister. Despite being the king, your dad was still on that alpha male grind set. And that means treating women like disposable objects for pleasure, which included Delilah's mom, who was a servant in the castle. And since the Emperor's pull-out game is weaker than Andrew Tate's arguments, he got the servant pregnant, and he can't go buy milk because he owned the dairy factory. So began Delilah's childhood of living a secret life in the palace, which came to an abrupt end after your mom blamed her for breaking a pot or something. This got her brutally beaten and her family kicked out of the palace, eventually leading to her mom dying of sickness and Delilah becoming the way she is. Quick question. Was the pot here made out of unobtainium from Pandora? I mean, it's valuable, yeah, but certainly not beat a child to near death valuable, right? I know it is sad and all, but you know, it feels a bit too much. They even mentioned putting her mom in a child's coffin because they were too poor to afford a big one for an adult. Talk about comically over-the-top misery porn. Like, it's trying too hard to be bleak and depressing, you know? Sort of like Arkane, only not overrated. But I digress. Whether Delilah's tragic past is true or just a fabrication is intentionally left ambiguous. This makes the non-lethal method of taking her out actually compelling. For once in the history of both Dishonored games, the non-lethal option feels merciful. Up to this point, the only incentive I've had for not running a sword through everyone was because of the good ending, but it never felt justified. Until now. Delilah's ultimate plan is to mold the world into that from her own imagination, a world in which she is loved by everybody and become the just empress she's always wanted to be. In order to do that, she plans to turn a magical painting into reality. A painting which we can sabotage by crafting a corrupt rune, walking right up to the throne where Delilah is sitting, I'm not joking, and placing it here, then knocking her out and trapping her inside the painting. This means when Delilah wakes up, she gets the happy ending she's always wanted, and Emily gets to rule the Detroit equivalent of steampunk. Okay, one question. If Delilah's plan was to turn a painting of her fantasy into reality, why didn't she just go into the painting and live out her fantasy in the first place? It is established that Delilah is as powerful, if not more powerful than the outsider. The guy even admitted to Emily that he's afraid of Delilah, which is why he helped her take down the witch. And the outsider is freaking omnipotent. So why did she even bother to overthrow an entire empire where she could have just created a new reality for herself? Well, I guess the game has to happen somehow, right? So you see, due to my compassion, in the end I got a good ending and everybody lived happily ever after. What about the 15 people you stabbed, 12 eaten by rats, 3 splattered against the wall, 26 permanently crippled, 1 lobotomized, 2 subjected to slavery, and 2 left for dead? I know it looks bad, okay? But before you cast judgment, can I finish my review? Fine, go. So what you want to say about Arkane? Bad optimization, Deathloop, Wolfenstein... canceling Ravenholm, Redfall. But the one thing they've always done right is having a great artistic vision and the ability to make it come to life. If you squint more than hard enough, even the used tampon that is Redfall has some resemblance of uniqueness to it, buried under 18 layers of hyper-stylized vomit-inducing Gen Z character design that's all too common nowadays, but uniqueness nonetheless. While not for everyone, the aesthetic of Dishonored 2 and the franchise as a whole is instantly recognizable as soon as you lay eyes on it. When asked to describe the graphical style, art director Sébastien Merton stated that they were aiming for a painterly look, foregoing photorealism and close-up details in favor of an overall stylized look and atmosphere. Merton wanted Dishonored 2 to be a visual journey to a new city, though keeping the same sensibility of the first game and elements like oppression, disease, magic, and decay. And for the most part, I say that they have achieved the goals. The one advantage Dishonored 2 has over its predecessor is the engine. Going from the first game to the sequel, the team at Arkane took a big leap, going from the popular Unreal Engine 3 to the Void engine. Though heavily altered and fundamentally different, the Void engine is based on id Tech 5, previously used by Machine Games to develop the Wolfenstein remake, as well as Tango Gameworks, creator of The Evil Within 1 and 2, before Microsoft took them behind a shed and put a bullet in the back of the head. There's a trend that's been going on for a while now in the gaming industry, a trend of pushing for photorealism, mistaking it for good graphics, cramming as many insignificant details into a scene as possible, then running around and bragging about it, going so far as to charge $70 for what is essentially an upscale texture pack that could have been made by AI in the case of The Last of Us 2. I don't know how you feel about it, but just take a look at the recent AAA games released nowadays and tell me that they don't just blend into one another. Arguably, the single game that benefits most from good graphics is Cyberpunk 2077, and that is because that game has really good art direction. The problem with realism in gaming is that it takes away from freedom of expression, because the developers have to keep in line with an already established template, which is real life. Alright, okay, come on, hit me! Hit me! Show me what you got, eh? I'm ready! Let's go! I cast upon thee the judgment of eternal banishment. Hellbound. Oh my god. He must have made a mistake, right? Nope, it wasn't a mistake. But I'm on Earth, in my studio, not hell. Same thing. No! Share this video. And a special shout out to my patrons, Oseyeris, Mouse Mangala, and PR! Without them, this video wouldn't have been possible. Subscribe and stay tuned to witness my gradual ascent into insanity. If you don't, I'll hack your email and use it to send dick